Depth of field is when the camera changes to focus on one object while the other object that is either directly in front of the camera or in the distance blurs. We're going to fake this in Photoshop and then bring this into Flash. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our satellite in focus, and then the satellite is going to blur as the background, which will be blurred when we first start out, is then going to be in focus. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of instances of our satellite as it gets more and more blurred. Before we get started, I want to reduce the size of it a little bit because we're going to need this space for the blur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply press Command or Control T to open up the transformation tool. And then I'm going to hold the Shift key down and I'm going to scale the satellite down a little bit like this and move it to the center of the screen. And then I'll hit Enter to accept that decision. Now what we're going to do is we're going to blur this out a little bit. So we have our satellite and we're going to blur it 3 times. We're going to go to Filter, Blur. We're going to select Gaussian Blur. And that's a little bit too much for our first blur. So what we're going to do is we're going to go just a little bit like this, maybe 2.5. We're going to accept that. And we're going to save this as Satellite 2. So we're going to say Satellite 02. And we'll save it in our Special Effects folder. So we'll go ahead and save that. Then we're going to do this again. We're going to go to Filter, and this time we're going to just go to Gaussian Blur, which is already selected for us. Or you can press Command Control F to re-invoke this effect. And we have a more blurred out effect now. Let's do it one more time to get a little bit more dramatic. Let's save this as Satellite 03. Now that's good enough. So we're going to go ahead and go to our Earth now. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to blur this out. So we already have outer space 1. We're going to go to our filter menu. We're going to blur this out now. So let's go ahead and close the satellite. I'm going to go ahead and not save that. And I want to make sure that we have our colors as RGB. As you see here, it says index. So if you're ever in Photoshop and you don't see the filter or layer menus highlighted, that means you may not be in the proper color mode here. So we need to go to Image Mode and change this to RGB. And now these are available. And we can now apply this effect. So we're going to go ahead and save this as outer space 02. And we're going to blur it twice more. And now we're going to save this as outer space 03. Now let's head back to Flash. And we're going to import these to our library. So let's go to File, Import to Library. And let's find our blurs here. We have our outer space sequence. So I'm going to hold down the Control Command key and just grab these one at a time. And I'm going to grab the satellites too. We could have also just clicked on outer space and then held down the Shift key to select all of them. I'm going to bring these into the library. And then what we're going to do is we're going to arrange these so that outer space is at first focused. I'm going to drag this to my stage. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And let's move over just a little bit and bring our rulers out here so we can mark off where the boundary of the stage is. And I do this quite a bit so things are lined up properly. Now we'll go ahead and drag our scene out here. I'm just going to make sure I align it to the corner like this. I'm going to go to the next frame here. We're going to go ahead and press F6 on the keyboard. And then we're going to click on our picture and we're going to swap it out for the other version of our space scene, which is more blurred. Let's press F6 again. And once again, click on our picture on the stage and swap it out for space 03. And now let's go ahead and name this layer Space. Let's also create a new layer called Satellite. And we're going to now lock the space layer. And we're going to bring in our footage of the satellite. And the satellite, we're going to start out with the blurred instance of it. So we're going to select Satellite 03 first. And we're going to drag that to the stage. So the satellite is going to be blurred out. Let's go ahead and press F6 and swap out the satellite with number 2. Now press F6 again. And let's swap this picture out once again by clicking on it with Satellite 01, which is just named Satellite. Now, let's see what happens when we scrub the timeline here. Now, of course, we have to resize the satellite here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my satellite here and drag out some guides so I know where I need to scale this. And I'm just trying to box in the satellite here. And I should have resized this in Photoshop, but it's not really a problem. Doing this kind of stuff is going to happen quite a bit because there's always going to be a step you forget along the way. Okay, so we don't have to worry about perfection just yet. So let's go ahead and turn off the snapping so we can really get a better control of the resizing of our satellite here. Okay, let me move this up a little bit with the arrow keys. Now, let's go ahead and scrub our timeline. So we have our blur of the satellite, and then when you play it back, the satellite comes into focus and the background blurs, which gives us our depth of field illusion.